Welcome back to my new series on my Struggling Calathea collection. Today we're on plant number 2, my Calathea Zebrina. If you missed the first video in the series, I'll put a link in the description box. So what's wrong with my Calathea Zebrina? Well, I think that there's two things wrong with it. The first is that the stems are leaning over toward the edge of the pot. It doesn't seem able to support its larger, more mature growth that started to appear about 6 months ago. And aside from that, it's also now a little bit too shallow, meaning that it needs to be planted a little bit deeper since it's had this sort of new growth spurt. My second issue with this plant is that it is the most sensitive Calathea in my collection, and its leaves curl constantly. And I've lost 2 rhizomes in the past. Full disclosure, I actually don't expect this to be a successful intervention. I'm going to give it everything I've got today, and I'm going to follow up on the plant and take care of it. But I do suspect that the plant is just not strong enough, and I am concerned about that. So again, I'll give it everything I've got today. But just to let you know, of course, sometimes you're not successful at helping your plant, and there are things that have been done that you can't undo. For instance, I can't go back and give this plant the right amount of light that it needed on day 92. Can't go back and fix that maybe it has an underdeveloped root system based on maybe a nutrient balance that I wasn't paying attention to. All I can do is move forward with the plant. So that's what we're going to do today. Let's get started. So here's this plant in January 2019. So wow, it's been 3 years. I'm looking at the plant now, and I've had it since it was only a couple inches high. So I'm the one who grew this. So when I talk about it getting inconsistent things, that would be for me. I can't go back to these different days and give it consistent light and consistent fertilizing anymore. So now I'm stuck with a plant like this that has these humongous leaves and a base that likely isn't strong enough to support it. So we're going to do our best today. I'm going to go through here. I'm just going to clean up the plant. I'm going to remove all of this kind of debris from the plant. But you can see that the stems are really leaning outward, again, as though the plant really can't hold them up. And it's not just, I think, that the base isn't particularly strong. It's also that as it's grown, it's needed to be repotted. So it needs to be planted now a little bit deeper into the pot. And so more is showing on the plant than really should be. And so I'm going to go through, and once this debris is gone, we're going to repot it. I'm going to put it into a new pot, but it's not going to be terribly large. And I really need to look at the root system for me to understand what size pot do I want to put it in, because what I'm seeing on the surface might not match what I see in the soil. So I'm kind of preparing myself a little bit for that. You can see the one rhizome there, though, that just didn't make it. And I'm thinking a little bit at this point what I want to try to do about that, and feeling a little bit uncertain, a little unsure of if I should just remove it. But I think I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to remove it. At least I'm going to remove it from the top, but I'll leave any of the roots there. So I've decided I'm going to give it a similar sized pot, so long as once I get these roots out, it's actually, it needs it. And again, I'm not sure if what's on top is going to match what's below. And there's always the chance, Calathea grow rhizomes. They grow out under the soil horizontally. So they go out toward the rims of the pot. And so hopefully, if something's there and I can get this healthy again, I can get these roots going and I can get the plant regrowing. But my issue now is, one of the things is, even though that I let the soil dry out a little bit so that I can more easily remove the plant from this planter, the roots are at the rim of this pot already. And so it's not easy. And I'm already having to fuss with the roots more than I want to, because in some places they're starting to adhere a little bit to the sides of the pot. So another thing I'm noticing that I don't like is that they went all the way to the bottom. And so they had a chance to get to the bottom and to circle. Now, are those roots actually connected to anything that's alive at the surface? Yes and no, and I can tell that right away, so I'm a little bit concerned. The roots themselves, though, they look okay. I'm not terribly worried. They're not mushy. They look healthy. They feel healthy for the most part. But again, I'm fussing with these a lot more than I want to be. I don't, knowing how sensitive this calathea is, I really don't want to be too invasive with the roots. And I already feel like just getting it out of the pot was not good for it. So I'm putting soil into its new pot, and I just want to kind of say here, I knew at the time while I'm doing this, and this is my concern of what I've done, is that I'm compacting the soil too tightly as I go. And that's really because I want the plant to be able to stand up instead of leaning so far out. And I'm pretty sure the soil is too compact. You see me pushing down a little bit, but I'm really pushing down a lot, and I'm pushing down with more force than I normally would with a plant, trying to make sure that the plant is getting, it's at the right level of where it needs to be in the pot as opposed to where it was previously. I don't want to go too high, I don't want to go too low, but I also know that because of the leaning, it's causing me to compact the soil more than I normally would. So I'm concerned. Calathea, even when they're healthy, don't do well when the soil can't drain correctly. And so aside from having things soil content that allows quick drainage, when you compact the soil, you're really inhibiting that a little bit. So I'm concerned already that I've done that. Now I add the water, and I'm looking now at the plant, in its totality. I'm going to take the camera, we'll step back. The leaves are really splayed. That doesn't say much about the health of the plant. Look at these giant leaves. They're so beautiful. The thing is, can the rest of the plant support this? And can the root system? I'm not fully convinced. So what I decide to do is I'm going to go in, and I'm actually going to help this plant at least stay upright. And I go ahead and I use a chopstick kind of to stake it a little, and then I'm going to use this tie. I'm going to go ahead and tie it relatively gently at the base so that it has at least some support. But I'll be honest, as I said in the introduction, I don't really have high hopes for this plant, so I want to be really upfront about that. And I did my best today. I might have to go in and do an emergency kind of touch up. If I do, I'll let you know. But cross your fingers for me. And until next time, be well and take care.